Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rainmaker Stories. Today, I have with me a very interesting founding team, Shreya, Deepa, and Rashmi, founder of FlexiBees. Thank you, guys. I'm very excited to be in a conversation with all of you today.
Right.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
So thank you. Thank
So,
you.
I've gone through the work that FlexiBees does in terms of offering employment opportunities and an opportunity to be financially independent to women by working from a remote location or part-time working opportunities. Now, what was the genesis of this startup, and how did you all come together to get started with it? If you could share some backstory, some key milestones and challenges along the way.
Oh, sure, I'll begin. The seed for this journey was my own experience when I became a mother and my own mother passed away. I had to leave my career. And this was after a decade plus of experience across different industries like management consulting, corporate strategy, finance, and marquee names like PwC, KPMG, Aptech, and after my MBA from IIM Bangalore also. So that was when Shreya and Rashmi started talking. We were all batchmates from IIM Bangalore, 2008 batch. And we thought that if a person with this level of qualification and experience finds it hard to come back to work after a break, what about others, right? What about women who are qualified, experienced, talented, who want to make a comeback but find it hard to do so? So we saw that the data was staggering. Actually, there are literally millions of women who have to take a career break, and there are many reasons why the female workforce participation is low in India and other countries, as low as 20%, because of structural issues, lack of child support, of affordable child care. And one of the biggest reasons is lack of flexible work opportunities for women who need the flexibility at that stage in life, but want to work at jobs or roles that match their skill set and work experience. Right. So even when I was trying, first of all, it was very hard to answer questions like, will you take my call at 10 p.m. in interviews, and a very biased kind of environment. And what if your child falls sick, and those kind of questions. But apart from that, I found that simply there were no options available for somebody with the level of qualifications and experience as myself or others who are qualified. So that's when we thought that this is a really big societal problem, and Shreya and Rashmi also, they can share about their view or take on this problem, because each has a very unique perspective to why we wanted to start this. We thought it's a really worthy problem that needed all of our resources and energies. And since we are from the business background, we started the journey in a business and sustainable way. So that's what we set out to do. And we directly went the minimum viable product or minimum viable service route. We found clients, and we directly started testing our service. So in fact, both of them can talk a bit further about how we went further and then what the challenges we faced. I think that'll kind of round it up, the genesis. Shreya, you want to continue?
Sure. So actually, yeah, like Deepa said, we figured that flexibility at the workplace was the unlock, basically, to help, qualified women return, perhaps to even help them stay back and not drop out in the first place. And like Deepa also mentioned, we wanted to be very sure that this solution was also beneficial for businesses, because we have been talking diversity now for some time. It's great, in fact, that there is so much intent around it, but somehow the implementation of it hasn't gone the way that one would hope. In fact, the needle has been dropping. So we wanted to ensure that businesses found value and business value in being able to in hiring women through these models. So we started talking to businesses at that time when we started, which was A few years ago, it was smaller businesses, startups that we spoke to, and we realized that there was a lot of eagerness to hire in a flexible way, because it allowed smaller businesses to be able to hire experienced talent, but in a more affordable way through part-time models, or through project-based models. It allowed them to experiment. It allowed them to try out new models, to very quickly onboard talent, and to scale up or scale down as needed. So these were all things that were, that were the need of the time, and today even more so, in fact, for businesses. And so there was a beautiful, sort of match that happened. There was a supply pool, or a talent pool, that wanted flexibility. And they were experienced and raring to go. And there was that business side which wanted to hire through flexible models, wanted that experienced talent. And that's where we decided that we would play a role, we would match them to the best of our ability. And perhaps, Rashmi, you can talk a little bit about how we went about that.
Yeah. So like they've said, I think there are two sides there, and both are willing to kind of try and experiment and move forward in this flexible way. But our role was to find the right match, and there we spent a bit of time fine tuning the product, so to speak, or what, so we basically provide vetted talent. So the right talent is very important, because when we were selling this was pre-COVID times. Everybody was willing to experiment, but they all thought of it as an experiment, part-time, remote, can all roles be done this way, and things like that. So we felt that we had to find the right talent skill-wise as well as flexibility-wise. If that didn't happen, all these people who have started experimenting, if they encounter a failure, then they'll say, oh, this model doesn't work, versus, we found the wrong person, right? So it became almost mission critical for us to get the vetting and the match right. So, and that's what I think also has stood the test of time for us. We have, honed this thing. This is our differentiation. And this is something uniquely that we seem to be doing in this space versus, a lot of others. There are a lot of, what do you say, flexible platforms, more in the gig space, not so much in the women's space as much as we are. But they all don't seem to be doing the vetting that we seem to be doing. So that is something that was born out of this whole journey. And that's become our core differentiation, and something that we are very proud of, and we kind of our clients have come to appreciate, and we get good repeat businesses and all of that because of the quality of the match that we are providing. And at the same time, we're able to find also the women the right roles that they will fit in, which fits with their life, their flexibility, and things like that, their needs, so that the whole relationship works and continues moving forward. So that's pretty much I think our starting journey to
And this is very interesting also. And I see like the requirement for such a service too, especially in a country like India, where we have close to 77% men who are employed and who are generating an income.
Yeah,
While, as you said, that, women are sitting just at about 22%.
yeah.
So we really need that bridge somewhere, so that more and more women are able to enter the workforce and stay in the workforce.
Remain in the workforce.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's quite challenging for women to enter itself. And then after that, losing them seems like a, greater tragedy.
Yeah. So in fact, I was studying, there's this report I studied which said that as much as 38% women enter the workforce in India, but as they move up the ladder, the maximum amount of attrition happens around the mid-management level, which you're right coincides with, your family responsibilities of raising children and taking care of the family. And as you move up, less than 3% reach the C-suite level.
Yeah.
Which in a country like us, which is like, 1.4 billion of us, huge, vast population, the numbers are actually very dismal when it comes to women being financially independent.
Yeah.
So this leads me to my next question. You spoke about how you started this business, of course, in the pre-COVID days when remote working was not a trend. And then COVID hit the world and we saw so much of remote working coming to the forefront. So how did that impact your business? How, like, did you have to pivot during that time? Was there like too much influx of demand which was coming in? Or was there a flip side that, okay, companies are not spending as much on part-time employees. And now that the COVID has normalized, how has that trend changed for you?
So actually, we didn't have to pivot at all. We were ready for COVID. So we are a COVID-friendly business, one of those businesses, and we started seeing an increase in demand from the moment that the first sort of lockdowns opened up and the businesses started going back. We started seeing unprecedented demand as far as we were concerned. And in fact, apart from the volume of the demand, even the quality of the demand, really improved. So, for example, before COVID, we largely spoke to smaller businesses and startups, and primarily startups who were very tech savvy, who understood understood remote working, who had the tools to enable it at their workplaces. But post COVID, everybody had to digitize, right? So that is one factor of it. Everybody had to digitize. Everybody, forcibly at that time had to embrace remote work. Organizations digitized much quicker. So there was an enabling infrastructure that brought in more kinds of businesses, and that also, in fact, created the demand. So the digitization itself for a lot of smaller businesses required them to look outside of their conventional talent pools. Everybody needed a digital go to market. Everybody needed a website. A lot of them needed apps, and a lot of smaller businesses and scattered across the country, of course, internationally as well. But in India, specifically speaking, a lot of smaller businesses who perhaps did not have that talent in their immediate vicinity, and they were open to then hiring remotely. So yeah, some of these things, and enterprises is another example of a segment of companies which really cottoned on to the whole remote, and hybrid trend. So even before COVID, we had a lot of interest from enterprises because this remote working or hybrid working as being a future of work trend has been around for some time now. So there were larger companies who would come to us. They would be intrigued. They would want to know how they could integrate a different pool of talent in their workforce. But after COVID, it became crucial for them to have this talent in their workforce, to have a mix of conventional full-time work arrangements, but also talent which was able to work in a more agile way. And the use case over there again was, of course, being able to hire some of these skills which would help them digitize quickly and keep pace with how quickly things were changing externally. But also because through COVID, a lot of businesses saw for the first time or were caught unawares. They weren't able to move very quickly, and so they realized that they needed to have more agility in their own systems, whether it is innovation, whether it is ability to hire people. They need to move faster, quicker, do more experiments, be ready for unprecedented scenarios. And some of those things translated to them coming to us, hiring and hiring for things which perhaps before COVID may have been good to do, but suddenly post COVID they became must do's.
Right.
And of course, there was a third use case of bottom lines being constrained. So that in fact led to more business for us. So
Right.
while companies didn't want to hire full-time talent, business had to go on. Innovation was still happening, needed to happen, and so part-time talent, slightly more affordable ways of hiring talent, were seeming much more friendly. So yeah, we saw actually a whole sort of flurry of demand that happened post COVID. And as to the second part of your question, how that has sustained, it has sustained. It has sustained. Of course, with any huge change that happens, there is going to be a little bit of a leveling. It will find a little bit of equilibrium. But if you draw a line through that graph, it is a pure upward sort of trend, and it's something that people are not going back from.
Yeah.
Everybody has tasted the benefit of working remotely, of that autonomy, of that freedom. I mean, in a way, businesses don't have a choice.
And did you have face any challenge on the supply side of things? Because on the demand side, of course, you mentioned that, there was a lot of demand that came in. But what I also heard when I was doing, these different set of interviews, even for my book, there were many of them that they were like, even being at home is becoming a problem because everyone is at home.
Yeah.
And there is no help during that period, and especially people with, smaller kids, they were struggling a lot to do their daily duties. For
Yeah.
instance, I had interviewed Naya Sagi, who's the co-founder for the Good Climb Group, and she mentioned that during COVID period we realized some of our employees were very candid, and they told us that there are pockets in our days when I just cannot sit at the laptop and do the work required
Mm.
because everyone is at home and there's just too much work. So they came up with a solution that okay, people can mark like a PTO, personal timeout, on their calendars, that fine, during this time I'm just looking at house related work, though these are the normal working hours. So did you see any challenges on the supply side of talent when it came to the COVID period especially?
Yeah, so I think we resonated very deeply with what women were going through. And all of us were, and we could see Shreya, especially in India, actually being a reflection of that in her own home. It was really hard for Shreya, and we could see that it was really hard for our staff, as well as the women we placed on projects. So, but what we did is we kind of saw how could we help in this situation. And the first help, of course, is always to let the people know that we are there, right? So we see that situation first as it is, without judgment. So I think we reached out proactively to our staff as well as women whom we work with, and acknowledged how hard it is. And then also what we did is we actually worked out this, like you said, some solutions, some hacks. We in fact crowdsourced a lot of knowledge from our own pool of women. So we understood what are the ways in which some families managed, and how did they. So there was these times when there was be no household help, right? So how did these families manage, and what did they need? And the empathy that kind of we know, because we are an all woman organization who stands for flexibility. We also translated into guidance documents, which also we shared with clients. So there, and because we were remote first from the first day, like Shreya mentioned, we were geared for the transition, and we also helped organizations in that transition. So what does it mean to work remotely? And so that also actually has an effect on, makes the communication and work culture easier, right, for everyone, not just women, men and women. Everyone had a really hard time. So we made these knowledge documents which helped. And we also ran series of webinars and something on mental health and how to cope in the pandemic. That was many things we disseminated through our mass platforms or our social media platforms. And we were told that all of these were all very well received, and we were told that they are helpful. And for us, luckily, we are all have always been a company which believed in flexibility, right? So there is no certain, we don't expect that people would be always on all the time, right? So
Yeah.
it is a task, they know what they need to do. And meeting times are pre-organized, and the people turn up. So I think that was not a challenge. Yeah, the overall hardness of what things people were going through, that was a challenge for everyone uniformly.
This leads me to, now talk about the pay parity bit of things. Like, for instance, referring to this report, though it's like dated to 2020, it said that women executive directors make 45% less than their male peers. And this is just like one statistic, but we know that pay parity, as a principle, is yet to get established firmly in India, and also in most other countries, I would say, in the world, that we still struggle with it, and we struggle with it across industries, be it the corporate world, or be it when let's say people in sports, or any other arena. So if I talk about pay parity when it comes to the remote industry, what are, some of the trends there? And since you're an organization which is only focused on placing women talent onto these remote assignments, how do you sort of ensure that there is parity, or what sort of trends are you seeing there?
Mm. It's a great question, actually. And you're very fair and right in saying that overall the pay parity situation is bad, okay, accepted. But so our take on this, it's actually because we are building something almost which wasn't there, right? So we get the opportunity to do things from first principles, so to speak. So what we do in our space, what we do is very simply, when a role comes to us, when somebody wants a certain, there's a flexible role open, when the role comes to us, we benchmark, we look at the market pay for the role, the market pay, and that is basically, it has no gender equator to it, that's the pay, right? So we take the market pay, we proportionate it to the hours that we can use, because most market pays benchmarks are all on full time. There are no, like, separate benchmarks for part time or remote. We are creating these things. So we then look at that, we say, okay, for a full time person, but for a half time person, because most of our people are usually working around the half time zone, so what could that pay work out to be? So that's the pay, that is our benchmark. We do not, there is no separate, we don't give a negative for remote. There's this sometimes notion that, oh, because it's remote, you can get, we don't do that, because we believe that the roles can be done remote means they can be done well remotely. It's not like we are going to give a subpar performance, just because it's remote. That's not our, idea or our this thing. So that's where, so I think that, so in our own way, we are making sure that all the people that we place, and our approach to this is that we take parity from what the market is, and then, of course, we add our fee on top of it, but the actual role pricing is very much based on the market rate and just proportion to timing, half time type of thing. So I mean, again, I think we are able to do it because we are setting the, price and things like that. We do see that when you leave things out in the open for people to, bid and price, and there could be some, reduction, like you say, remote may take a hit because of its remote, but it's because of the way we do this, and we are able to, I think, control a bit of the kind of parity. Can I just take a second? I think I need to switch on the light, right? It looks like, can I do that? I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But this is such a right thing that Rashmi mentioned, price the job and not the job holder, basically.
Yeah. We totally, like, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so we definitely price for the role. We don't price for, and we do not think that a, remote thing qualifies as anything. And so that's where, so we think we are getting parity because that's where the market is currently.
So just picking up on this, not only on the pay parity part of things, since the talent that you're placing are mostly are women, and then of course this is remote working. Are there any biases that you had to, quash when you especially started out? Because remote working was not big at that time, and now that COVID has almost subsided, do you see them coming up again? What are some of those common biases, and how do you quash them to ensure quality work for the talent who's enlisted on your platform?
Great question. Should I'll take a stab, and then I think everybody will want to add on to this. It's a good one. So I think some of the barriers or biases, some are the fact that, of course, if people are remote, they will not work, as much. Will they actually work? Is it truly, are they working in the time they're working? All of this is pre-COVID, long back, those type of thinking. And then some of it was around, it's not bias, I would say. There's also concerns around how will they work well with the team? How will it integrate? If one person is remote, how does it work? And the nervousness around those things. People are sometimes used to having people in the office, and then there's a part of this office culture and those gaps around those. So we've had all of a range of these. I think to many of this, we have, one is, I think, our vetting itself. Finding the best talent for this job is what we kind of claim to do. So, and we feel like And we have to prove it in a sense, right? Some of them will come with doubts, then we will find the best person, and this person will work very well. That's one thing. The other thing is our pool. I think Deepa has talked about is this pool that we have is women who desperately want to work, who are not getting opportunities because they're not getting the flexibility. So these are not people who are, and they are actually, almost like, taking this 4 to 5 hours out of their very busy days at home, but they want to carve these hours out so that they can, go back to what they were doing and, find a part of themselves that they've been missing for a while and things like that. So these are not the people who are going to cheat you out of, work time. They'll actually they're looking forward to doing this. So we had the benefit of this pool, which was, so committed in sense because they're not getting the opportunity. So I think it was easy for us to show it to our early clients. And then, of course, once you have a few numbers, then you can go and tell other people that, hey, yeah, I'll let the others add on because this is something that, I'm sure all of them have.
Yeah, I think apart from that, one of the things that we changed, I would say we changed in the industry is the notion that remote work necessarily has to be back-end work. It has to be work which is sort of low skill. There are multiple stories of women who want to return to work through flexibility, and they're offered jobs which are largely like data entry work, or some of those kinds of skills, and nothing wrong with these. But if they don't match with their experience and their aspirations, then it's just that it's tragic to expect that women should have to do data entry when they've trained for something entirely different, and their experience has been entirely different. So I think one of the things that we changed here was the notion that remote work means low skill work. Remote work means modularized work. Sales, for example, is our biggest vertical. Followed by, say, digital marketing. And these are two very core business-centric, business-oriented functions where there is a lot of interaction that happens between the person who's working and the company and various other team members. It needs your full presence during office hours, during the workday. And, of course, some of these things have changed also because of COVID. But even before COVID, I remember all of our material, for example, our communication centered around letting businesses see the kind of roles that we were doing, remotely. And in fact, we continue to do that. Every month, we have a communication that goes out on our social media and other platforms that says recently placed roles or recently fulfilled roles, and that the intent behind that is to let businesses see what is possible. And of course, COVID has accelerated that and been a big contributor to changing those mindsets as well. And we have today, and in fact even before COVID, now roles like CFOs, marketing heads, all of those being done remotely as well. So that's another bias that did prevail, and we've been able to shift that.
Yeah, basically the proof of the pudding has been the quality of the people and their work ethic also. So we actually ran an independent survey in which it came out that clients acknowledge this work ethic that these specific pool of women bring in. And it was really rewarding to see the results of that survey. So all in all, I think once there may be questions until they try it, but with constant communication, marketing, awareness generation, and of course the model working itself, it kind of works out.
Wow. Thank you so much, team. This has been a great conversation, and especially the aspects that we covered, right from the trends in the remote working industry, the demand and supply aspects of it, and how does the talent enlisted on your platform, face the tough situations around COVID to pay parity and just quashing some of the biases that are associated with remote working. As a closing thought to the interview, I would love to hear each of you just give 2 to 3 sort of practical hacks or piece of advice to women who want to return back to work after their sabbatical, which can be due to any reason, like what would be that, let's say, one piece of advice or two to three practical hacks which can help them to stay the course of their careers if they choose to do so?
Okay, we of course have developed body of knowledge which we keep disseminating. But apart from all that, what we would say is it is not an easy journey. So we would say you should have you should seek and have support in this journey. So have anchors, have well-wishers, surround yourself with well-wishers and cheerleaders. And the wins may come now or later, but you need to find the support systems which will help you keep going. So, and we have seen many women accomplish this. So it's not impossible, but yes, you do have to keep going. Then only it will happen.
Shreya, Rashmi?
Yeah.
Rashmi, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go next. Okay. So I think one of the things which personally felt very strongly whenever I've interacted. So when we were small, of course, we used to do everything. So the founders. So we used to do all the the interviews and all the talking to the women, a lot of the women. One of the thing that's very striking, and I think it's one thing that it's probably there in all women, but more so in the women who have taken breaks, is this lot of they focus a lot on the break itself, the fact that the break has happened, that obviously because it's such a huge thing, they didn't probably, most of them don't want to, when they take the break, it's usually thinking it's a small break, it's something that they, so there's a lot of focus on the fact that there's a break, and they're so conscious and this thing about it. And part of our process is also to kind of tell them that don't worry about it, forget about the break, just because for us all are, everybody in our pool is this way, right? So our clients already know the spiel, so it liberates, we try to liberate them. And that's why I feel that all of us, or all women who are in this thing of taking breaks, should be liberated from the break first of all, because it's, the break is already there is no the additional burden of the break itself, and focus on your skills and what you can do, and which is, it's obviously, and this is something that we say, and but it's also because we are also demonstrating it to them in the process, because we are testing their skills. So we don't ask questions around so much about why not, why so long, why so short. No, those we don't ask. We actually focus a lot on their skills, so we are able to convey this. But yeah, for even women who are not able to be touched by us, or who have come to us, I would say that focus on the positives. And I think this is, like I said, there's a part of the women's psyche on not focusing on the positives as much, and focusing on this one, that will help. And then that there's so much what do you say, richness actually in this pool. This pool is so rich. Our entire company runs on this pool. We are a good startup. We are proud of what we have done. And we are all of our employees or staff, everybody is from this pool, and it's a growing, this is a pool that can help a young growing startup grow. I mean, so there's a lot of proof is already there, so we should be proud of how much of richness and what is it, skill and all of that is there in this pool. So yeah, that's my, what about more than 2 minutes. Your turn, Shreya.
Yeah, I don't know what to add to it.
You should have gone second.
Um, yeah, I think, yeah, I would say before, any hack that I give, I would say that I'm daily in awe of the women pool that we have. Like Rashmi said, there's so much talent. There's so much talent. And to be honest, after I became a mother, I realized the hard work that, parenting is. So I just feel that there should be no woman out there who should feel, even the slightest bit ashamed or on the back foot or defensive about having taken a break. There are structural and societal reasons behind it, and she did the best that she could, and she's doing actually, un, sort of unspeakable service to society, to the generations that come after. by having taken that break and having put her hard work and toil to raising her children, and now she wants to do the do a second job of coming back to work. So I feel like, yeah, there should be no shame associated with it. And but we do see that women do experience a lack of confidence. The number of years of break, as they start increasing, the confidence of whether you will be able to return to a workplace which has certain professional rules, wherein there is a stress of the job, there are deadlines. We have seen that women do feel that they will not be able to integrate back. And sometimes that could be so limiting that it prevents you from making that very first step. And through the thousands of examples that we've seen, and in fact, I was talking to somebody just a couple of days back, I would say that break it down into small tasks. Very practical sort of hack to it. It can be overwhelming. The whole aspect of returnship and the many things that need to be done, and breaking it down into simple steps, sitting down, writing your resume, focusing on the skills and not on the break. All of those things, those can be starting points, and it just takes off from there. So yeah, that would be my practical advice.
And these were just, very beautiful instances and the advice shared by each of you, because I see that actually when I interacted with multiple hundreds of women while writing this book, and these were the common undercurrents that were there in most of the conversations that I had, especially when it came to, like, when Deepa mentioned that it's not going to be easy, you need to keep going at it. There may be parcels when you have to slow down a little or be on the back foot, but that's okay as long as you are keeping at it, and you need to find those allies. You're right, because if you go by the usual what they show, that be the multitasking person and try to do it all, you will not succeed, because at the end of the day you are a human with those limited 24 hours. So delegating, and I at times say, just shamelessly delegate to people around you. Make your partner a real partner when it comes to raising a family. You need those allies. Ask for help. That's very important, because only if you ask, you will be surprised to know that yes, there are people who are there to help you, or just lay it out for them that XYZ things you need to do, so that I can take out those 4 to 6 hours uh, from my day to actually focus on my professional bit of things. And as Rashmi and Shreya rightly pointed out, the lack of confidence and assertiveness at times, which most women struggle with. And I was just surprised to read the statistics here, that they say, close to 8 only 2 out of 10 women actually say that they're taught this value of self-confidence as kids. Just imagine 80% of us feel that the most taught values to us are hard work and respect. And this actually just reflects as we take choices in our life, both personally and professionally, and especially professionally. That's when it reflects, oh, I have taken a break and I'm on the back foot because of this. And we shy away from taking very high visibility projects, or just, banging the table and saying, yes, I can do this. So what? Like, I really added a lot of things to myself during that break. It was not really a break if you're working overtime, as Shreya said. Once you became a mother, you realize how much you are like adding on to yourself as a person, and even adding on to a lot of skills which are relevant in the professional context of things as well. So I would say beautiful pieces of advice, and I really hope that the listeners benefit a lot from this conversation, and especially for the women out there who are looking at restarting their careers after a break, or are looking for remote opportunities. Find themselves a place on this fantastic platform with FlexiBees. So thank you so much, Deepa, Rashmi, and Shreya, for taking out the time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Nishta. It was wonderful.
Thank you,
Wonderful
Nishta.
talking to you.
Lovely speaking with you.